desde Las Vegas, Nevada. Iniciamos con el programa Hablando de bienes y raíces con Castillo y sus invitados. Comenzamos.
Muy buenos días, Las Vegas, ¿cómo están? Yo soy Castillo, comenzando su programa de Hablando de Bienes Raíces. Hoy día, miércoles, marzo 5. Increíble cómo se está moviendo el tiempo. Estamos aquí desde el estudio de Lawyer's Title, dándole la bienvenida a todos ustedes. Y tenemos aquí una invitada especial. Vamos a comenzar a darle la bienvenida. Vamos a comenzar con Judy. Judy, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, Judy. Well, thank you for taking the time to come out here, meet me. Would you do me a favor? Would you give me your name, your last name, the company you work for, how people could get a hold of you, and how long you've been in the industry?
I've been in the industry since 2010.
Okay.
I didn't go full time until about 2016.
Okay.
But my name is Judith Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I am with Realty One Group. I have a specialized team within Realty One Group that's called Premier Sports and Entertainment.
Very cool. Very cool. And the reason why you are here is because you're not only a real estate agent since 2010, but also you service a different type of clientele. And that's what we want to talk about, because we know what's happening right now in the real estate industry, right?
Yeah.
We know that right now, I mean, I'm not a real estate agent, but I'm a real estate professional. I would say that right now it is a buyer's market. If you're looking to buy,
Yes.
you do not want to wait till June.
You sure don't, because as you know, even though rates are still high, it's still time. You're in the driver's seat as a buyer.
Correct.
Because the sellers are, wanting to sell their home. They are willing to give all kind of compensation, meaning maybe they're willing to pay your buyer's commission, other concessions. So you're in the right time to buy, because once rates go down and once the demand picks up,
Yes.
you're going to be in a bidding war.
Correct. And what we try to explain to people when I have many different guests here is, you should be always prepared to purchase.
Correct.
Which you should know if you qualify at the moment or not. And it doesn't cost you a penny to call the lender and say, hey, you know what? Can you run my credit? Can I see, how much do I qualify for?
Right.
Because we're looking at a factor that we want to be very specific, and correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, there's a lot of price reductions.
Yes.
And people that do not understand the market, and a lot of agents that who you are, they're out there like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Like, no, the sky is not falling.
No.
We call this a correction of the sales prices, right?
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between the market crashing and then the correction of what's happening right now?
Well, right now, when things are inflated, things tend to go up. And right now, when we went through COVID, for example, COVID really put us in a position where we had to drop the rates because people needed to purchase. But at that time, well, let's fast forward. Now we needed to correct, because everything was so crazy.
Correct.
Everything, the buying frenzy was just chaotic, to the point where now we had to adjust and kind of balance everything out. And the only way to do that was to bring up the rates to kind of calm everything down. But now we're in the position where we've corrected everything. Things are better now, where right now is the best time as a buyer, because it turns into this, we're always going through a roller coaster, right?
Correct.
Through real estate. So right now we're at this calming storm where, yes, rates are still high, but at the same time, everything is kind of calming as far as like the buying, the demand, the selling point of the sellers. So
right,
it's all a game.
Can we talk a little bit about how you guys, or especially you as a real estate professional, when you're representing a buyer, not a seller right now, you're representing a buyer, days on the market means you could be very aggressive on your offer.
Correct.
Or you could go ahead and kind of like ease into the sales price reduction, right?
Right.
And I think the consumers need to understand that, well, first of all, that's why they hire you guys, right? And that's why you guys do your job.
Right.
But second of all, that days on the market shift makes a big difference in the negotiation, right?
It does, yeah, because the longer realtors know if the house has been on the market for a while, there's a reason. One, it could be overpriced. Two, something could be wrong with the house. Well, who knows? But you have to do your research as an agent for your buyers, so that way you can determine, okay, there's a reason why that this home has been sitting there for a while. And that can give you leverage, as a buyer, if depending on how desperate the seller is to get rid of their home too. So it's all about researching and you're doing your due diligence for your client.
Correct. And, going back to, days on the market, I know that in a, feeding frenzy, you would put a property at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
As a brand new listing. And by 4 in the afternoon.
You have like 10 different offers.
Right?
Yeah, multiple.
And now we're looking at the average days on market are between 68 days and 82 days. Depending on, your price range.
Yeah, price point does have, a big thing because the rates are so high.
Right.
People need that down payment assistance. They need that money to make the deal work, right? So the higher the price point, the more, in my opinion, the home's going to sit for a while.
Correct.
So right now, on average, people can't afford a down payment, and now on top of that, the whole change with the buyer's commission.
Correct.
Now they have to pay the buyer's commission.
Correct.
So
that makes a big difference, and that the sellers, now I need you to put on your seller representative cap, right?
Yeah.
You need to take all of that in consideration as well.
You do, especially if you want to, sell your home. You do have to. Again, we're in a buyer's market, so the buyer has all the driving force, possible. They're in the driver's seat, so. If you're in a position as a seller to not only pay concessions but also pay the commission, then that's probably the best thing to do if you're wanting to get rid of your property or sell it.
Right. You want to attract that.
You want to attract the buyer.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that the consumers need to understand right now, that has shifted a little bit. I mean, not quite a bit, because before we were able to put the agent's compensation in the MLS. Now you just can't, but it's the same thing. You still got to pay somebody to come to show your home.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So let's talk about, your company, right? Realty One Group. I know you've been there for a while.
Yeah.
But you are a specialty team, if you want to call it that, because you guys work with high-end clientele.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about how that came all along? How did you decide, hey, you know what?
Boy.
I think this is something that, because it's needed. And I think that the background of why you're doing it, it's just phenomenal, and it speaks volumes on your character.
Thank you. Well, it was a lot of hustle, I will say. We knew at the time, my team and I knew that we saw the town becoming a sports town. The Knights were here.
Correct.
But now the Raiders were coming. And we knew later down the line, soon we'll follow NBA, MLB. And look, we already have MLB coming out.
Yes.
2028. So at the time, we figured, okay, we'll assemble a team together, and just shoot a dart in the air. Because, I mean, it's one of those things, if you're not in the circle.
Yeah.
You have no connections.
Correct.
You have to really hustle. And that's what we did. We thought outside the box. We put a team in place. And the craziest thing that we decided to do was fly out to Oakland.
Oh, wow.
Before they came out here.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. Good for you. That's definitely thinking outside the box.
It is, because we thought, okay, social media, they can see us, on social media. But to put a face and, put us in front of them, I thought at the time that it would make a huge impact. And it did, because we were able to meet with a couple of players out there, the player engagement team at the office. And from there, it just kind of opened the doors for us. And it stood us out, because in a good way, because I have to tell you, when we had conversations with athletes, like, why did you choose us? Out of everyone, I'm sure that under the sun was trying to reach out to you. And they admitted, they said, we got approached by thousands of agents.
Of course.
DMing us. But what stood out the most is that we were consistent with our content on social media. And we were consistent on giving them what they needed. Because we knew that they were coming out here. Some of them never been to Vegas.
Correct.
Some of them have never lived in Vegas.
Right.
So to be able to provide stuff that resources that they needed was vital. And
well, let's be honest, the Raiders that have come to Vegas, they don't leave the Strip.
No.
Right? No. And, because I remember when I moved from California to here, I mean, I personally thought that all the employees lived in the casinos.
Yeah. Same here.
Right.
I moved here in 96.
Okay.
And I just thought Vegas was the Strip.
Yeah.
And granted, back then it wasn't as
big,
but still, your perception is, that's all they have is the Strip.
Correct. So, but you guys flying out there and being proactive. And, one of the things that I've learned through, networking and meeting high power people and everything is, you have to be intentional.
Yes.
And you guys had a plan of saying, we are going to be intentional of going there instead of us waiting for them to like, hey, look at my social media and figure me out. Yes. You're like, no, we're going to go and meet you guys. And I think that's what really set you guys apart, right?
It did. We were very intentional and very purposeful. And we had a mission and we had a goal. And we just knew we had to think differently than the rest. And social media was a great platform to get our faces out there, but to meet them in person was a game changer for us. Good for you. Now let's talk about, their caliber of purchases, right? Because they're not buying $300,000 homes. Yeah. They're not buying, $275,000, but they want the same things that any person that's moving to Vegas wants, which is information. Correct. What kind of information were they looking for that you said, this is something that I think it's going to give them a better idea of them moving into our community? Yeah, I think for us, education was really vital in what we were trying to do with the athletes, only because a lot of them are really young and a lot of them don't know what to do with their money. Yes, correct. They have an advisor and they have, their sports agents, but to navigate, what I should be buying versus what I want. A lot of them, wanted to start off buying $1 million homes. Right. And granted, when you have that much money, why not, right? Correct. But you have to be strategic and smart, when you're buying real estate. And for us, it was educating. Let's start here. This price point and then slowly get you to that $1 million, especially as your contract grows. Right. And a lot of them didn't think that way. Correct. So I think it was important for us to educate them. And that was our biggest piece is we're not just real estate agents, we're your educators. Correct. Correct. So. And I think that's important again, because let's talk about, their side of the story, right? These are kids that, are very good athletes. But, like many of us, we haven't been financial savvy. We don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, we have a big, like a real store, right? You've been doing real estate for a year. You get your first commission check, and you literally like flip, and you're like, exactly, right? And the first thing you do is like, I'm gonna go buy a car, right? But you got to get educated on how to get yourself into this. And I think you guys done a very good job by letting them know it's like, you're never gonna buy your first home, your forever home. Correct. Right? Because especially in sports, and we're looking at what's happening right now with the Raiders. Yeah. You get traded. Yep. God forbid you get hurt. Exactly, right? So you get so many other things that you have to really think about it, and makes it a little bit, more complicated if you think about making that one decision. But you guys provide them with enough information for them to make that decision. Now, my question to you is, I know that, a brand new rookie doesn't have an entourage of people like, a more experienced, player. How do you manage dealing with those people? Because I know that you've had transactions that literally you never met the actual player. You've gone through his people that, quote unquote, they call them handlers, right? Is that any different than dealing with just a regular Joe Blow that is buying a real estate transaction? There's a lot of ebbs and flows in a transaction like that, and there's a lot of complication. It's harder to deal with so many hands in the pot versus dealing with someone one-on-one. But you navigate it the same way. You're dealing with the same subject, which is the property, the buyer, and then you're dealing with either the mother is involved, the sister or the girlfriend or the fiance or the sports agent or the financial advisor, but you navigate it the same way. You do have to have a lot of patience because there's so many hands in the cookie jar. Correct. But you you have to be a professional at the end of the day.
Okay.
But to navigate it, it's the same. It's just more hands involved. So you just have to make sure you navigate it and adjust accordingly, because it could get chaotic when there's so many people involved.
Well, I was going to ask about that, because I know for a fact that, when we have a husband and wife purchaser,
Yes.
right, and they're buying a $500,000 home. I mean, you as an agent that's representing the buyer, not only you have to communicate with your clients, which is the buyers, but you got to communicate with the listing agent. You got to communicate with escrow. You got to communicate with the, lender. I mean, there's so many within a small, and now you're adding layers of people that they need to talk. And then how important, and I know that your team is very good at this, on keeping the same conversation with every single party that you need to, because, let's be honest, people hear what they want to hear.
Yes. Yes, and you have to really stay organized and make sure somehow, some way you're communicating all in one. So
Correct.
Whether it's an email, group text, because everyone should be in the loop.
Correct.
Because to your point, anything can get lost in translation if you're communicating with one and then the other person doesn't know. So just making sure you're staying organized, whether that be an email to everyone and giving them, the latest and the update of everything.
Correct.
Or in a group text. I mean, there's so many avenues we have now with technology that there's no reason why you can't stay organized.
Really? You should talk to some of the listing agents we talked to.
I know. And I kind of hint to them all the time, it could have been done this way.
Exactly.
If you can just know how to communicate.
Right. Now, let's talk about, negotiating at a price point of, $2-3 million, $5 million. Because, we were talking before we jumped into the air, we talked about, I see real estate transactions where I see 4 or 5 different addendums on a, $500,000 home, discussing a $9,000 credit.
Yeah.
I know that your price points, don't worry about $9,000 credits. Your price points are a couple of $100,000 difference, right? Can we talk about that conversation?
Yeah. There's a huge difference. I mean, when you're dealing with luxury, you have this huge expectation that not everything in that home needs to get repaired.
Correct.
You're dealing with a whole different beast.
Yes.
So when you're dealing with a luxury versus the average home price, it's a huge difference. And you're dealing, and I don't want to say more professional luxury when it comes to agents.
Correct. Yeah.
It's just there's an understanding for some reason, and it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to deal with that luxury market, because things kind of are set already where not much is needed as far as repairs. The titling is and don't get me wrong, there's some complicated ones that have like title with businesses or LLCs, and that can get kind of muddled as far as title. But for the most part, I think luxury is much easier when it comes to the transaction itself.
Correct. Yeah, because we're talking about a home that it's either been brand new built.
Yeah.
Or it has been brand new renovated. So you're not going to be looking at, oh my God, how old is the air conditioner?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because obviously that caliber has money to inject what needs to be,
Correct. But I think what the biggest factor is, negotiating sales prices.
Yes.
Right. Because again, I've seen addendums coming back and forth and, hey, sales price to be reduced by $1,000. And it's like, really, you guys probably are talking about $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 price reductions.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people have cash and they're like, you know what? Hey, you give me a discount of $150,000, I'll deposit the money tomorrow. So that caliber of, handling that type of transaction you got to be on point.
You do.
Right.
You do. And you have to make sure that you're looking out for your client too, because a lot of times, people with cash think, oh, well, I'm bringing in this much and let's take out $500,000 off the price. But at the same time, you don't want your buyer or your seller to sell it for less than what it's valued for. So, and obviously when you're paying cash, there's no appraisal needed. So you kind of want to make sure you navigate and make sure your seller's not just giving the house away for free.
Correct. Because I know you have a listing up in the hills.
In McDonald Highlands.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that, because I've worked with some of the, luxury agents. I know that depending on what side of the street your home sits, the price could change $35,000, right?
Just for the view.
Can you talk about how you guys help those sellers understand that area? Which I know that a lot of repeat sellers or a lot of investors that work, they understand that. But, somebody walking in brand new, they're like, you know what? Oh, my God, this is a beautiful view. Why am I paying $10,000 or, $10,000, $100,000 more than the property across the street or something like that, right?
Because it's unique. I mean, you pay for beauty, you pay for the ambiance, you pay for just something different, and it's just part of the I don't want to say game, but it's something that not everyone can own. So it's a very unique commodity to have, which is views. And to have a strip view is priceless.
Right. Right. Because I know that that's what everybody's looking for.
Yeah. And a lot of sellers in that price point understand that. So they know when we're trying to figure out price wise what we should price it for, because the demand is there. And the buyers that are in that price point want a focal point when they're living in their home. And that's the views. Right.
So just a couple of months ago, there was an article talking how down in, the Summerlin area, the west side of town, there was a $32 million home that sold, which was, the highest sell price home here in Vegas. You talk to any California agent, they're like, 32 million, that's on the valley, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you seen in your period that you've been here in Vegas that luxury market, it just keeps on creeping up?
Yes. And that's, and that's because of everyone that's moving here from California. Like we said earlier, all the sports teams are coming out here. So the caliber of type of clientele is changing. It really is. And I think it's going to get even pricier as time goes on. I think, in my opinion, this is going to be a California 2.0.
I totally agree with you. I've been saying that for so long, so many years, and people are like, "Man, you stop saying that." I'm like, "No, but look at our traffic."
It's true. Yeah, exactly. That's the one indication is traffic.
Yeah.
It feels like, and I lived in California, and I lived in San Diego. I've lived in LA, and it's getting to that feeling of there's so many, and we're a tax-free state, or state tax. So it's like California people are finally realizing, I'm going to bring my business over there.
Bingo. Yeah.
Save on tax.
And with one of the things that you mentioned is, with these sports teams moving in here, they're bringing a different caliber of, clientele, different clientele of residents, if you want to say, right? Because, sports figures, they just not going to go to any chiropractor.
No.
They're going to go to their own chiropractor.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not going to go to their, there's sports facilities here that, you could take your kid to play soccer to have them go training, but what they use or what they're used to, it's in a totally different level. So all of those things come along with these moves, which helps increase our, residencies here.
Right.
But in the same token, it elevates everybody.
Right. And there's some people that are against it, because not only because of traffic, but they just think that it's not helping us as Nevadans, but it is. It's bringing in jobs. It's bringing in businesses. And things are going to get expensive, but hopefully, I don't have a crystal ball, but hopefully within time, the income, will suffice but with everything going on with the politics, who knows, but it will help us as Nevadans.
Yeah, because I know that, like I said, I have agents that, we know an agent in common that has, agents in California. They're like, $32 million. That's, that's nothing.
That's nothing.
Right? Because we're selling $180 million homes. And we're like, what?
But those $80 million homes, what do they look like?
Exactly.
Square footage wise. They can get something way smaller than something out here for 30 million. Correct.
So, again, it's just one of those things that, Las Vegas market is definitely changing.
Yeah.
You're in the luxury homes, just scheduling with your potential buyers, could be an issue because, they're always busy.
Yeah.
Especially with sports figures, they have, places that they need to go.
Yes.
They have signings that they need to go and do. They have appearances that they need to do.
Yeah.
So
a lot of Zoom calls.
A lot of Zoom calls.
A lot of Zoom calls.
Yes.
Or FaceTime. I mean, they have an iPhone.
Right.
That's very convenient. Sometimes we do everything over the phone.
Wow.
Yeah, because to your point, they're not present. They're not here in town. They're in another state. Some of them, are on vacation during that time. So
Correct.
It's just navigating. And with all the technology, everything's possible.
Nice. Nice. Now you have a team that you do.
I do.
How many?
Yeah.
How deep is your team?
Well, we're growing. Right now, I have 6.
Okay.
And about to be 7.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So we're bringing someone on. I haven't announced it yet, but she speaks Spanish.
Nice.
And I think we needed that dynamic, just in case.
No, you know what? I mean, I was at San Diego. I mean, you were at San Diego for NAREP.
Yep.
The Latitude, and all the sports team, they want to have somebody that the Spanish in their teams.
Soccer, baseball.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they know that draws in attention. So now, one of the other things besides sports that Las Vegas is getting really, really busy with, because we know that Major League Baseball. I mean, I just saw the renderings of the Oakland A's stadium. I think either today or tomorrow or Friday, I think they're going to go ahead and open it for season holders to start buying in
already.
I mean, this is coming.
It's coming. There's no doubt.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
It's coming.
But we also know that another thing that's in right now in conversation is bringing the studios.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to limit yourself only to sports figures, or you guys want to also tap into that that realm of luxury, right?
We want to tap in all assets, whether you're $200,000 or 20 million. We want to help all every customer that walks in life where they want to buy. It doesn't matter the price point. So we want to break into the celebrity aspect of things too. Like I said, this has already been an entertainment town.
Correct.
But there are just more that are going to come.
Right.
As time goes on.
Right. And then also being so long, being so much in your career, right? Having the experience of watching the city grow as well.
Yeah.
You could go ahead and advise your buyers, depending on the area they want to live, and saying, hey, you know what? This is a growing area still, right?
Yeah.
So you're still going to have to deal with a little bit of traffic and everything. I know for a fact that when I, drive down to the east side, I barely see any cones.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of new constructions.
Yeah.
You go to the west side or you go to the outskirts of the, you see a lot of construction.
Right.
How do you have those conversations with your clients on, where specifically they want to live? Because our valley is still kind of small. I mean, without traffic, you could go from one end to the other end in 35 minutes, right? How do you have the conversation of then to decide, where is the best investment for your money?
It depends. So we'll have the conversation of what they want to do, and where do they see themselves 5 or 10 years as far as real estate is concerned. Because if they're just ready to just make a quick buck, they'll think about a flip, and let's think where that flip will take place. If it's something long term, we'll dive into the primary areas. So if they wanted to rent it out later down the road, maybe a Southwest or a Southern Highlands, or it all depends on the price point, what their purpose is for that home that they're buying. If they decide to live in it for a little bit and then rent it out later, that's another, conversation of, okay, so where would you want to live while you're here? And kind of see, okay, so when you do leave and you're renting it out, what type of clientele do you want to attract? Because that plays a huge part in location wise. So
explain that to me, because, when you talk to a property manager, they're like, we're just renting the property. It's a $1,700 listing, right? Yeah. You're talking about how much a month.
Right. Yeah. Because, and I know it's illegal here in an Airbnb unless you have a license.
Correct.
But let's say you do have a license,
right?
And you want to buy a house to live in it for the first year, and then your plan is after you move out, you want to rent it out as an Airbnb. to have a successful Airbnb, you need, the more doors you have in there, the better.
Okay.
So because it allows more people to not live in it, but to stay in it.
Yeah.
Because the whole purpose of getting an Airbnb is to have the experience and to stay away from the strip.
Correct.
Here.
Yes.
So if you can have enough rooms and beds, and a whole like 2 or 3 families can stay in, obviously, you're going to charge a high level of,
Rent.
Rent. Yeah. So if you're looking for that type of real estate investment, Spring Valley area would be the place, because the homes there, the size of the homes are huge. There's, enough space to put 2, 3, 4 beds in one. So it really depends on what your goal is. So for an Airbnb, then Southwest would be the perfect spot, Spring Valley. Henderson and Summerlin, I wouldn't advise, because a lot of them have HOAs and you can't have an Airbnb.
Correct.
So.
And then also, you know what? I mean, I think you're mentioning something and just, caught my attention. New home builds, their rooms sizes are very tiny.
Even their backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a lot of homes in the Spring Valley area, and that's why I kind of if that's what you're wanting to do, that area, that's an older area. And those homes there have huge lots. They have huge square footage. So it's those homes that are very attractive for that type of clientele.
Right. So you do have to have a conversation with them on saying, hey, I know you want to buy this house, but what is your purpose for it in the future? If you're a sports figure, you're like, hey, I just signed a 5-year contract here for, the team. Yeah. And then all of a sudden 2.5 years into the contract, you get traded. Now you have to think differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have those conversations ahead of time, because for them being traded, it is very possible. So, we do have that conversation straight off the bat. Like, what, if you do purchase, what is your intention later down the road when that does happen? Are you going to keep it as a rental? Are you going to sell it? Because if your intention is to sell it and you get traded year 2, you're not going to make the money back.
That's a good point.
So if that's something that you're looking to do, then let's pivot and do something else with that.
That's a great point, because a lot of the people think, hey, just because I have money, I'm paying cash, I'm going to get my money back, and depending on the market.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So you really have to be thinking ahead for your client, just to and peel that onion and find out what their purpose is from the get-go and future-wise, because buying a home may not be the right thing to do if you're planning on selling it a year or 2 later.
Correct.
Maybe 5 or 10, but definitely not 1 or 2.
That is correct, because you could go ahead and just, rent.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, especially because, we got to understand, rookies are, a commodity.
They are.
They're great off the, right off of college. They're like, yeah. And then you get them into this, you get into the upper level and they're like, maybe it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I think also they understand.
Correct.
Right. As what, I might get traded happen in the middle of the season. I mean, we've seen that happen, right?
Yeah. I've had players that we've purchased a house and they got traded the very next week.
Yeah.
I have helped players that literally got into a lease and the very next day they got traded.
Yeah.
So it's just really making sure they understand what could happen so they can make a informed decision on what they want to do.
Right. And this is great because, again, right, you're dealing with, you're dealing with people.
Yeah.
They're just in a different level. Correct. But at the same token is you got to educate them.
Yes. That's all it is. Education.
Yeah. And then, like you said, right, you have the same conversations with somebody that wants to buy a brand new, a brand new couple that wants to buy a $275,000 coma. You're going to have the same conversation. Like, hey, what is your purpose in 2 years? What is your purpose in 5 years? What happens if you guys get pregnant? Do you guys want to live up? Do you guys want to rent it? I mean, the same conversation happens regardless what the price point is.
In order for me to advise the right way, I need to really get to know my client and peel that onion. I can't stress that enough, and understand what their plan is. That way I can navigate and advise them the right way.
Right. So you decided to start working with sports figures because you just had a dream, or you were like, you know what, I think that's something I want to get into? How did that come into play?
Well, like I said before, we knew the town was changing and the type of clientele was changing. So not only can we help the average person, but we knew we had an opening to educate not only the average person, but sports figures. I mean, and my son, I had two boys, and they always played football since the age of 5.
Right.
And one of them went all the way to college.
Oh, nice.
Ball, and he was going to play in the NFL. That was his goal. And me seeing that, and all the kids, all the guys involved on his team, I'm like, these guys have no one to kind of help them navigate.
Wow.
Real estate,
right?
Because I when I purchased my home, I did it on my own with my husband. We didn't have an agent.
Okay, wow,
and that was difficult.
Yeah.
So I remember that, and then I thought, these kids at 20, they don't know what the heck to do. They don't know where to even begin. And when I saw my son playing college ball, then I thought, if he gets picked up by the NFL, what's going to happen at that point? Who's going to take care of him and guide him the right way? And yes, they have advisors, but really, who's truly going to be there for them, to make the hard decisions and to help him really do the right thing when it comes to real estate? And that's when I thought, okay, if my understanding is this, then I need to start educating. And that's kind of how it came about. Nice. As far as having a niche and specializing in that, because I knew from seeing my son, I knew he wasn't the only one. Right. There's other 20-year-olds there that. Oh,
of course, there's hundreds and thousands of people that want to make it to the NFL.
Yeah.
And luckily, you had gone through the process of owning your own home and realizing, well, this is a little bit more complicated than I thought.
Yeah.
Now, in all fairness, let's talk about the truth. Is like, how many of those kids really come from a,
correct,
from a system that, they purchase their own home and they understand that, which is very few.
Very few.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So by you deciding and saying, hey, you know what, I think this is a great niche, it gave you this opportunity to create with your team.
Yeah.
How long has your team been together servicing the sports community?
We're going on 6 years.
Oh, okay.
6 years now. So it's fairly new.
Yeah.
Because again, we weren't a sports town 8-10 years ago.
No.
But we like I said, we saw the town changing, and we knew that we needed to create something for that type of clientele. Very
cool. So, you have a 20-year-old. He's getting a, $5-10 million contract to go play as a rookie. I mean, and we're talking about, $5-10 million. That's nothing. That's probably for the kicker.
Yeah. To begin with, yeah.
To begin with, because these guys are getting $100 million.
Yeah.
$70,000 sign-on bonuses. I mean, their contracts are insane.
Yeah, and some of them don't. Some of the rookies, they get. It would be hard to believe, but it is true. They don't make a lot of money.
No.
In the first year.
Yeah.
They really have to play their butts off to get that contract following year. So a lot of them just want to hold on to that little bit because no one knows what the future holds.
Correct.
And that could be all that they make.
Right.
And then what?
Right.
So they really have to think and be strategic with their money.
And then you give, this kind of money to a 20-year-old.
Oh my God.
With no guidance.
Yeah.
What's going to happen,
what
right?
What type of car I'm going to get? What jewelry do I want? What else do I want to get? Clothes?
Right.
Yeah, no, they're not thinking, they're young.
Yeah.
They're not thinking future-wise.
Correct.
At that age, I don't know if you remember, but I remember I was invincible.
Oh, of course.
Age of 20.
Are you kidding me?
So it's really, and that's where the education really comes into play, is educating them. No, this is real.
Right.
And this is going to be possibly the only money you're going to see. So let's act on, if that's what's going to happen.
Correct.
Let's build a strategy here. Let's build a nest egg for you, because you're not going to be 20 forever.
No.
And you're not going to play forever.
No.
So
yeah, there's very few players that play up to 35, 40 years old. I mean, I don't know that many that are that age group playing out there. Other sports obviously is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But the same scenario, just like you have a conversation or consultation with a, first-time home buyer at a $300,000, $400,000 home, right? It's like, hey, this is the biggest purchase of your life.
Yes.
Right? Same thing with those type of figures, right? This is your biggest purchase of your life.
It doesn't matter the price.
Right.
It's just, this is going to be the biggest. And it's also risky when you buy real estate. Probably the safest risk, but it's still risky.
Yeah. And, given what, has been happening with the stock market in the last couple of days, this is what I've seen in my past. Mm-hmm. When the stock market performs the way that it has been performing, all of a sudden real estate becomes a commodity. And they're like, hey, let's put our money in real estate.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Yep. And then you have to, when that happens, you have to really pounce on that.
Yes. Yes. So I guess the bottom line is, if you're thinking of buying right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. I mean, like right now, today is the time that you need to contact the real estate agents, the loan officers and saying, hey, do I qualify?
Yeah. And it really doesn't matter if you're buying, 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. Now is the time to see, can I get pre-approved?
Right.
Get with that lender. See if there's a plan that, the lender says we need to plan, bring your credit back up. Mm-hmm. It's never too early to start that process and to do your homework on that. And then when the time is ready, then you're ready to buy. Right.
Because like you said earlier, we know right now that the driver in the seat is the buyer right now. You're getting incentives, you're getting closing costs. Yeah. They're paying for your buying down your rate. Mm-hmm. So, why wouldn't you take advantage of that?
If you're financially ready, then you should just pull the trigger.
Yeah. Because I know, again, right, the inventory, and I don't know if you know the inventory off the top of your head, but I know that the inventory is a lot healthier today than it was 6 months ago.
Correct, or even a month ago.
Oh, really?
So so it's don't get me wrong, the properties we have on the market are still scarce. Mm-hmm. But once the demand goes up, that's going to be even smaller.
Right.
The supply anyway.
Right. Now, I know you have a couple of listings.
I do.
Right. You want to talk about them so people that are listening and saying, say, hey, you know what? Maybe I could go ahead. Hey, if I talk to the listing agent, I might get a better deal. Right.
Right. So I have pretty much, it's a huge span. So right now I have one in the 500s, and that is in the Northwest. Okay. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. Really nice house. It's only been lived in for 2 years. Oh. It's by D.R. Horton. It's a builder. Mm-hmm. It's a really nice house. And the highest one I have right now is we just dropped the price, 2.59999. Okay. And that's in Dragon Mountain in McDonald Highlands. Mm-hmm. And that one has the mountain views. It has 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, gourmet kitchen, pool. It's an amazing home with amazing views. You've been in it.
Yeah. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. That one's been on the market for a little bit, but that price point, it can take a certain period of time before, a lot of California people are moving out here. So I don't anticipate it staying on the market that long because Californians are coming in with cash. So $2 million is nothing to them. Yeah.
And I was going to ask you that, do you target or do you market to the California market, especially at your high-end listing?
Absolutely. I have agents in California that are in the luxury market. Nice. So between us, we send each other listings because you never know. You may have a client that it may fall into. Right. That person looking for that. Right.
So, I'm not sure if we have any luxury people listening to us, but, if I'm a person that, has a $2-3 million home and I want to list it, I think you're the type of agent I want to call because you have connections in the markets that could afford those homes, right?
And that's really a good point because you want to get with a realtor that has not only negotiation as expertise, but you want to see, who is there who's in their SOIs because that does help when you have other agents collaborating with each other, finding buyers for each other in that price point, especially.
Yeah, because let's talk about, I don't know a lot of people that could drop $2 million just on a house, right? But there is out there.
They are out there.
If you're in that circle, that might be your lowest price point.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot of foreigners that are buying investment properties out there, and they have thousands to spend on, especially with real estate. Yeah. So
Yeah. It's because they understand that real estate is a secure, commodity, if you want to call it that, right? It's a long-term investment.
It's the safest risk.
Yeah.
To many. So I
like that word, safest risk.
Yeah.
Because there is a risk, but
there is. But I mean,
it's stable.
It is. It can go like this.
Yes.
But I mean, so can the stock market, and people invest in stock all the time.
Yeah. My daughter was mad yesterday because she lost $6 on her 401k.
See, yeah, and people invest in Bitcoin,
Yes.
so and that's very risky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why not put it into something a little safer?
Well, I've talked about this in the past, and I mean, I've been in the industry for long time. Mm-hmm. I've only seen 3 times the market crash.
Yeah, I've seen it once.
September 11. Mm-hmm. After September 11, the interest rate came down, the prices of the homes came down because nobody was, especially here in Vegas, they were not visiting.
Yeah, yeah.
Then 2008, right? And that was something that was out of our control. And then COVID. And then after that, I go, if everybody's thinking, the market's going to crash, I'm like, just look at the 3 events that happened for the market to crash. Yeah. I don't think a meteor is going to hit us. Yeah. Well, we probably have possibilities of a meteor hitting us, anytime sooner than anything major happens.
Right. And I think back in 2008, I wasn't in real estate at that time. Mm-hmm. I got my license maybe 2 years after that. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of that happened due to predatory lending.
Correct.
And now we don't have that. There's things in place to ensure that doesn't happen again. So I don't foresee us crashing, anytime soon. But none of us have a crystal ball either. So.
No, you're right. And things could happen. I mean, changes could take from one place to from one time to another. Yeah. But when it comes down to real estate, like I said, it's been pretty steady. I mean, in a normal market, the increase of real estate is 3 to 5% in a year over year. So you're always making money. You're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you're making thousands of dollars.
Right. And sometimes you have to sit on whether it's land, whether it's property, until the right time.
Correct.
To sell.
Yeah.
And to buy.
Yeah. So like right now, I was listening to I was reading an article where they're planning to do the Warner Brothers Studios there off of behind RC Willie's.
Yeah.
Well, there's one right down here, which is going to be Universal.
Yeah, by
the UNLV.
IKEA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's one, but the one by Flamingo and Wallaby, right behind RC Willis, it's 53 acres. Warner Brothers already bought the lot.
The lot.
Well, you know what? Stations Casino owns the lot, 43 acres across, and they're like, we're just waiting.
Oh yeah, and they're smart.
Yeah,
they're not dumb. They're just waiting patiently.
Yes, before they start their build, because they see what's happening. And one of the things that I love about real estate is that you have to know what's coming online.
Yes.
Right?
Not just the market, but everything in your city.
Yes. So you and your team were very smart and strategic on saying, well, we're getting the Raiders. Mm-hmm. Instead of us having them reach us, we are going to go to them.
Yeah, we had to be very proactive. Mm-hmm. You have to be. You can't be reactive because then you miss the boat. You miss, your time.
Correct. But you guys doing that now put your team at a higher level than everybody else. You have a niche market. You're dealing with high-end clients. You're dealing with regular clients and everything. If I'm a buyer buying a $400,000, $500,000 homes, and I have somebody else in your team in your capacity negotiating for me. I mean, you guys negotiate, hundreds and thousands of dollars out from a product. I want to make sure that I want to give you guys a call because you guys are going to help. Right. But, at the end of the day, the consumer should think about that, right?
They should, because it does come down to, how much of an expert are you?
Yes.
How long have you been in the game? But, what type of clientele do you help? And if what's good for us is that we help all kind of clients, and whether it's a small deal, big deal. It's just we're educated enough and we're cultivated enough to help navigate any type of transaction.
Right. And that's what you want in your corner. You want somebody that's going to be savvy enough, that's going to give you the good advice. Because I always tell people, the agents that I invite here are the loan officers. I mean, let's be honest, Judy, you don't sell homes.
No. I sell. I create relationships.
Right, but also you advise people to make decisions. Is this the best house for you or not?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Now, if you were selling cars, then you have to sell a car.
Right.
Right. So I think
it's not you're gonna buy this house. can you buy this house?
Exactly.
Let's see if you can.
Right. And, because I've had conversations about new home builds, and I'm like, home builds, they're a different monster, they're a different monster.
Yeah.
But, regular real estate, you have to have a professional in your corner. You need to make sure that they understand what you want.
Your best interest is what it comes down to it.
Right. So I know you have 6-7 people in your team. Do you guys have, team meetings? Do you guys help each other out? Do you guys, I'm, you as the team leader, you're translating or, transducing your expertise to the new team, person in there and saying, hey, this is the caliber of agent we're looking for.
Yeah.
We want to grow as big as anybody else, but we're going to do it strategically as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. And it all comes down to training ourselves too. I mean, we have to stay with the times, whether it's, on social media, whether it's finding, learning the trends on social media. We have to constantly train ourselves and educate ourselves as well. So as a leader, I make sure that the team is staying on top of, educations, going to classes to learn, because things are always evolving. Things are always changing. And if you're not one step ahead, you're one step behind.
Correct.
So.
And one step behind is really hard to catch up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you get too far behind.
Yes, correct. Now, one of the things that you just brought up right now that really kind of caught my attention is that, you said, education. But not only education is, I know a lot of agents that want to break into the luxury market.
Yeah.
Luxury market is not just expensive homes.
No.
Or expensive cars. Luxury market is a lifestyle.
It is.
And you really need to understand that to break into that. And, how can you understand lifestyle compared to price points? Because that's two different points, I think.
That's a good question. I think, understanding your consumer is what will get you to that point. When I deal with luxury buyers or sellers, I really get to know what their lifestyle is. Everyone has a different point of view as far as what their luxury lifestyle is.
Correct.
And if you build that relationship enough to get to know that person that you're helping, you'll understand what that lifestyle is. And then you'll adapt and find ways to help that specific client in their lifestyle, because everyone's different. Everyone has a different, way of looking at what luxury lifestyle looks like.
Correct. And that's why I said there's a difference between price point and lifestyle, because there's two differences. And let's be honest, a lot of these celebrities that you work with or athlete people, they would love to have a normal life where they could just walk down to,
and not be bothered.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, F1 is about to start.
Yeah.
And, they were talking about how I was following somebody that they were talking about how most of the drivers for F1, when they're off season, they have like 2.5 months off season, they all live in Monaco.
Yeah.
And they were like, the reason why. And I was like, I wonder why. It's a very small town. I mean, I know it's exclusive, very expensive. And they were like, no, the reason is because there is a anti-paparazzi law.
Yeah. They don't want to be bothered. They want to be left alone.
Right. And literally, that's all they want.
That's all they want to be treated like a normal person.
Correct.
They don't want to be fanboy, fangirl. And don't get me wrong, sometimes they do, but for the most part, they just want to live their life and not be bothered.
Correct. Yeah. So that's really great. Judy, you're not going to believe this, but the hour is gone.
Are you kidding?
I am serious.
Can I get another hour?
Oh, definitely. Yes. No, I would love to have you and maybe one of your team. I know we were hoping that,
one of my teammates was going to come.
Yeah.
But she's still in Michigan.
Yeah. So, definitely. I would love to do this. I think it's great having this conversation. I think it's important to have this conversation so our consumers understand that, they're just normal people. They just have a lot more money than us.
Yeah. True.
I mean, let's be honest, right? But they want the same things. They want to be left alone. They want to be able to go to the park, enjoy
They want to have a nice house.
They want to have. Well, that's why they have big homes.
Yeah.
Because they cannot enjoy the freedoms that we have. They can't go to Desert Breeze Park and go, jump in the public pool because they will be mobbed.
Yeah, they'll be bombarded for sure.
And that's why they built the Desert Breeze pool in their backyard. Right? So it's great. Judy, again, if you want to give me your phone number, how people could get a hold of you, your social media handle.
Yeah. I'm on Instagram, TikTok. You can find me under Judith Jackson or Judy Jack. And you can reach me at 702-326-1357. I'm with Realty One. So if you come see me at the office at the Southwest. I'm there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Judy. I really appreciate your time. My name is JC Castillo. You could go ahead and get a hold of me at 702-416-4302, 702-416-4302. Remember, I work for Lawyers Title. So you, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Seller, please make sure that you choose the title company. Do not let your realtor choose for you if you want to have great service. We'll be here again for the next show, for the next podcast. Please behave and take care of each other like I always say. And I will see you guys on the next time. Thank you.